All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Twofer of Cloudpunk. How you doing, Max?
I'm pretty good tonight.
All right, so I hope you remembered exactly what you were saying, because I want to know the rest of this, like, alternate FF15... What the hell is going on here? This alternate
pretty
FF15...
much. And I'm actually looking it up right now, because there was a that I...
Right, there was a lot that they could have done and they didn't do.
Yeah, and I know there was speculation, and a lot of the speculation true. You know, I mean, there was stuff that they ended up putting into the game itself, like, oh yeah, the summons are here, and this weird mountain formation is actually Ifrit's dead body or something like that.
Right, yeah. And like the wing of Etro being in the mountain too, because they like died together or something, and
yeah.
And like you're right, that is all still there in the game, but they never come out and say that or explain it in any way.
No, except for in episode Gladio's loading screen, they say something about it, and it's just like, well, what?
Wait, really? I didn't notice that. What do they say?
Yeah, it's basically because it does no consequence to the story in Gladiolus's DLC, but there's like, oh yeah, this mountain or whatever it's called, it has a name in the game, and it's just like was like Ifrit's original body.
You're kidding.
Before, because I think during there was like the war of the summons.
Yeah,
and
right. And that's how Shiva died, right?
Yeah, Shiva. Yeah, it was like they were lovers, but then Shiva ended up killing him or something. But yeah, now I'm looking this up because there was like a whole leak, and there was a lot of interesting because there was some other things that we never would have even known. Okay, let's see. It's supposed to be divided into a trilogy of 3 games. Well, that was going to be the 13. Let's see. The 4 crystals owned by 4 nations.
What?
Lucius, Accordo.
Oh, come on.
Tenebrae and Solheim. 5th nation Nilfheim took over Solheim a long time ago.
So kind of like Banon and the crystals in FF6. Or
yeah.
Baron in FF4, sorry.
Let's see. The first game started with the invasion of Insomnia by Nilfheim instead. And
wait,
you could see that in
you cut out a little bit. It started with what?
Yeah, the first chapter basically was going to be the invasion of Insomnia by Nilfheim, and you were playing it just like you did in that E3 trailer they had.
Yes, I remember that specifically, where he's at like that dinner party.
Awesome trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. The blah blah blah. I'm just saying what's really big with this. Corleones, blah blah blah. The strongest general in the Lucius army. Okay.
Yeah, Core I know is originally supposed to be part of the central cast.
Gravis was the final boss of like the first game / chapter. He and Stella Fleury, Nox Fleury were both from Tenebrae. Gravis knew about the true intention of Nilfheim to invade Lucius, while Stella did not. He is Stella's brother.
So yeah, instead
Gravis
of Luna,
was supposed to be and Luna's brother, yeah. Blah blah blah.
So they kept that, sort of.
He was secretly working for Arden. They were specifically there to protect and capture Noctis under Arden's orders.
Well, that was the weird thing, because like he couldn't have had less to do with Arden in the final game. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, like Arden and Ravis like really didn't cross paths until he killed his sister.
Yeah. Arden was portrayed as a silly and disinterested bureaucrat for most of the first game, kind of like how he is portrayed in the final version, in contrast to the other serious and calculating generals in Nilfheim.
Yeah, okay.
With very few hints dropped, blah blah blah. Okay, there was. I'm trying to find this other person who is like the opposite of Noctis.
Well, but see, I like what you said about Arden, because that makes his character even better. I would have loved to see a little more interplay with Nilfheim, where like. He is just like disinterested, and you're like, why is he even on board with the Emperor's Council? But then, like, at a certain point in the story, like the tides turn, and it's like, oh, he's actually like a scheming psychopath.
Yeah, I'm looking through. So here's like the second game of the planned trilogy, and I'm trying to see where they introduce this other person.
Boy, but like even as you're reading this though, what a fucking mess.
Yeah, right?
You know, like, overall...
This
like,
is so different.
Why in the world did they go about development of that games the way that they did? Like, as opposed to 13, which had, like, a really discombobulated trilogy, like, the story that you're describing, I would have played every entry in the trilogy, and I would have been on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Yeah. It's sad, you know, just what the potential for what it was, you know?
Yeah, but I didn't pay, like, $60 and then $200 for the special edition from you for potential. you know?
And I really liked, because in the final game, they ended up having Noctis and Lunafreya childhood friends. They've known each other. But in this game, Noctis first met Stella at the dinner party.
Oh, interesting.
So he first met during the first dinner party, trying to blah blah blah, where they talked about Noctis and Stella talked about both being able to see Etro's light, and has since appeared in Noctis's dreams and hallucinations.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there was a lot more about this,
the goddess,
the moon, and darkness. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's in his name, like Light of the Dark or something.
Yep.
So upon arriving in Tenebrae, they meet with the Oracle, who is Gentiana, who hails from the lands north of Tenebrae. This region of the world was removed from the final game, and Gentiana changed. Blah blah blah. The human and animal form assistance. Okay. Gentiana told Noctis about the origin of Eos, which was created by the goddess Etro, who appointed a guardian to watch over the people of this new world.
Yeah.
Guardian noticed the humans were always fighting each other, blah blah blah.
I'm not supposed to be late. You're making me late.
If you're late,
so
you should have got here earlier.
the guardian
this guy
basically
is
created.
racist.
I'm telling him why.
Are you hearing this guy?
I'm just jumping with your lady.
Yeah.
Wait, let him talk.
With ya. Rubric don't want to see you. Just wants you to have this.
He's clearly a white guy, so he's just being
Where is
racist.
it supposed to go?
That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
Huh?
All right, sorry. Go on. I'm still
No.
intrigued.
Well, I guess he's gonna tell you. Better hurry, Robert. Gonna be late.
Okay. Let's see. So the guardian of Eos made demons because the humans would have a common enemy.
Oh, interesting.
Etro did not
say I
approve
wanted
of
to
the plan
accept a
and
call,
stripped
Cactus.
the guardian of his powers, forever trapping him in the body of the mortal. Oh, I wonder who that is. Gentiana fears that the current demons used by the Nilfheim army could be the same demons created by the Guardian, and speculates that the ruling family of Nilfheim is related to the Guardian. See, this sounds like a
To be
good
honest,
story.
I
This is
thought
intriguing and coherent.
Like basically
don't let it
these
deflate your ego,
gods
though.
and stuff being
You were
behind the scenes,
saying?
which I know in the novel of 15 they ended up again checking that box a little bit with Bahamut.
Yeah.
You know, but in the
lifetime?
actual
Well, then
game,
the earlier I
it's
start,
very
the
much
longer
just
it will
hinted
take.
at.
Oh, so the thing that
They
I
never
didn't tell
really
you
come out
about
at
this
the end and
novel,
say that.
the thing that I didn't tell you about this novel that is out is that it is a summary of, like, you remember like 2 years ago when Square was saying that they had like a really ambitious
It's a virus,
like
right? I heard
several
there was an
packs
outbreak.
of DLC coming out for FF15.
Yep, the Noctis chapter, the Lunafreya chapter,
And the
yeah.
and the other Arden chapter, yeah.
And then the whatever Dragoon chapter.
Yeah,
is.
yeah, that was all supposed to be this novel. Like, but, you know, as several crucial pieces of additional gameplay that we just didn't get, and so they just turned it into the novel and released it. So it is canon.
It's something.
It is canon.
But
It does exist, but why? Why did they strip down like everything that you were describing into this like bare bones model, then intend to make what they had work better through DLC, and then just not do it, and then sneak out a book
You made this
that is
virus?
basically like, well, we tried. I mean, really, like, I enjoyed 15 overall, but it was like a fart in the wind, you know? It's just...
Yeah, I get it. And we waited so long for it, and there's a lot.
Oh, you cut out again.
Oh, what is going on with the second time we do a recording?
I feel like every time we do a second episode right now, that's always when Discord decides it's had enough.
You're full of shit.
Yeah.
What is this package?
But yeah, you feel like what?
Sorry, I'm just seeing because it seems like shit's getting interesting in Cloudpunk.
By anything in Navalis below the spires.
And you want me to do what? Spread it?
I'm gonna tell you, I don't think I trust Rubric.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm just getting bad, like, Riddler vibes from him.
Alright, do you mind if I read, because there's, like, some lore stuff here. It's a bit wordy, but once Rubric's done with this thing, it seems like this is interesting.
Yes.
If my
I'm very curious.
a few thousand people with a low-level neural
Because, like, I wanted 15 to be so much more than it ended up being.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like so did Square.
Yeah. So let's see. Basically, Ravis, they were in jail.
He's still going on.
Oh, okay.
That upgrade would become a panacea.
You know, when you say panacea, I'm not sure you're getting the flavor of that word.
Yeah.
Instead of a devastating tidal wave,
Woo!
leaving them untouched, their lives would be safe.
Whoop.
You know,
Really
the
thought that
city
tunnel
has its
wasn't
share of
going to dead
monsters,
end inside a
but
building.
I think you're the worst.
And don't forget it. I've given you the final nav point. Do your job, little rabbit.
Okay,
He
Rubric.
is gone. We are alone again.
Camus, is there a waste
No,
disposal
I
near?
can touch you.
One that leads
What?
all
No.
the way to the sea.
Yes, I have a nav point. Can we really do that?
We're
I
gonna
don't
do
believe
it.
this is a cure at all. This is Rubric's retirement plan, and he'll use it again.
Yep.
What if sending it to disposal means someone
Discovered
else gets
stacks.
it? Or maybe it will
$50.
spread. The package says it is dangerous.
Fat
It's worth
stacks. Yeah, we're gonna throw his package away.
Besides,
I hope you're on board
Yeah.
with that.
wants anyone else
Yeah.
to know he gave us this. If he goes after us, we
Though
can
this
rat him
could
out
be
to
like one of
Bono.
those twists where,
I
like,
don't believe for one
it's straight up
He wants us to do that?
Forgiving.
no, like it straight up was a panacea and we've just fucked humanity.
Oh, yeah.
This seems like the game.
I can't
the
imagine
kind
he
of
would put
game
that
that would
in
do that.
the hands of a fallible human or something. Like, shit's getting real.
I'm getting
Alright.
I'm getting the vibe that disposing of it isn't gonna be as like cut and dry of an answer, but I still don't
Yeah.
trust Rubric. Anyways, go on. So read the
there was
FF15 thing
some
while I'm marching
stuff.
here.
Basically, they're trying to get to the Empire. They get ambushed. Yeah. So in jail, Ravis explains that he's not Noctis' enemy, so he's also trying to free Tenebrae from Nilfheim, kind of like the real game. So then he frees Noctis. So here we go. Once in the laboratory, Prompto starts losing control of himself and leaves the party. There's a lot of human experimentation in the laboratory, especially on humans from Solheim. Solheim? Oh, the old kingdom. Okay, and Outer Nilfheim. In the original plot, demons were supposed to be the true form of humans. The party
weird.
finds Verstale, who's in control of Prompto, who reveals that Prompto is his son, just like
Yep.
the game we got, that he conducted experiments on that failed. Verstale's goal is to unlock the true potential of humans, and he turns himself into a half-human, half-demon. The party defeats and rescues Prompto. The party then decides to defeat the Emperor. The party finds the Emperor, who reveals his goal.
Because, you know, they were in town.
Yeah, right now, right? And this seems like, again, that turning point where, again, this is supposed to be the end of the game, right? But it seems like it's like the penultimate, we got to fight the real, evil here.
Yeah.
So the party decides to defeat the Emperor. The party finds the Emperor, who reveals his goal is to use the energy of the final crystal to conduct research to create technology that can replace the energy of the crystals, allowing the Aldercap family, which is the Emperor's family,
Right, yeah.
to rule over the world forever with a monopoly on the technology. They fight, but Arden intervenes,
Yep.
killing the Emperor, saying that such research would be a waste of time. Arden, so very much Kefka move there.
Yep.
Arden, which we've always made comparisons,
Well, yeah, because the game invites those comparisons.
Yes.
But
Arden
then it doesn't
reveals.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, Arden then reveals that he was the master of Ravis in the first game and chapter, the guardian that Gentiana spoke of, the
Yep.
guardian of Eos, and the one who provided Verstale with the research on demons. Leaker
Yep.
says that this is supposed to be very surprising. Arden receives pretty much no screen time up until this point in the game.
Interesting.
I'm gonna read this and see if there's anything interesting. Okay, this seems very similar to the game, but with some differences. Arden's been helping Nilfheim for centuries, since Nilfheim's founding, to help conquer other nations.
But no
which
one
he pretty much
wonders
did in the original
why
game.
he never ages or dies.
Right. It's like, but I think it's like Arden's like their secret. He's
right.
He's
yeah,
their
that
trump
makes
card.
sense.
He created the demons, quote unquote demons, by unlocking the raw emotion of human. But Etro became jealous of his power and sent a son created out of love to rule over the world instead. This eventually became the Nox Fleury family.
Oh, interesting.
But before Etro returned to her realm, she got seduced by lust by another mortal, creating another family that had the power of Etro. This eventually became the Lucius Calum family.
Oh, fascinating.
Etro was so ashamed by her actions that she left the world to never return. Arden's goal is to use up all the remaining crystals in the world, creating a conflict between the descendants of Nox Fleury and Lucius Calum, and between humans and demons, causing Etro to open the gates. You can see the parallels with 13, hardcore.
You can.
Causing Etro to open the gate to this world, as Etro unconsciously desired to meet with her children, Nox Fleury and Lucius Calum, and allowing Arden to finally return to the realm of the gods. This is so much better.
It
this
is.
so
and
much
like
more
I love like
interesting.
the trashy like romance part of it, like with Etro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so unique for a Final Fantasy.
This reads just like Greek mythology,
Yeah, like
doesn't
I
it?
fucked a god.
You keep asking for help. I have to do my job. You're on your own.
That's
this
why
to
I'm badass.
happen-
I fucked a god. What do you want?
Yeah, I'm
Damn it,
already
Camus,
liking
what
Arden's
should I do?
character much better.
I should
Well, yeah,
read
So,
because
right?
for this
he
to
has more
happen-
of a solid motivation. Like, and don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
like in 15, I still thought
He's
Arden
one of
was
us
like
now.
kind of the high point of the story.
Really?
You
Yeah.
know, like you
His
sympathize
motivation
with
was
him because he
more
got
that he
screwed over
was-
by the gods, right?
And which drove him fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I'm on my
Which
way.
is like cool, but he was again like a crazy person with a vendetta that he shaped the world to his will for his one vendetta.
Yeah,
That's what it
exactly.
ended up being.
But
which is
what
like
you just
cool.
described was like so much more nuanced.
Yes. Okay, so again, wanting to open Etro's gate, because she unconsciously wants to be with her children, the
Yep.
Nox Fleury, Lucius Calum. So for this to happen, he needs Noctis to unleash all his raw emotion, and he sends a resurrected, uglier version of Verstill's demon after the party, which is the final boss fight, I guess, of Chapter 2.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. Building explodes. Stella rescues them. First time Stella appears in the game since the beginning of the first game.
Huh.
So the second game ends with Noctis' game and Stella leaving Nilfheim, with Ideolus being pronounced dead and Verstiel somehow being
ask a
pronounced as the
question?
new emperor of
Of
Nilfheim.
course.
Oh, wow.
Do you
Interesting.
think if I am a car
That
for
would
long
suck.
enough, I will stop
Let's
being
see.
a dog?
Well, I
And tell
guess
me to
that
stop any
depends.
time.
Do you feel like a car
No,
now?
go on.
No.
I'm more invested
I
in
am a
this
dog.
than
Well, whatever you feel
The
like,
final game
that's what you
/
are.
chapter.
But other
Stella
people
returning
don't
to
look at me and
Tenebrae.
think,
Nope, you
Noctis
cut
is
out
still
there
in-
just a little bit again.
Well, let's
Oh,
be honest.
final
you're
chapter.
never a cute dog.
Final chapter begins
"But
with
now
Noctis
I'm
in the
not
gang
any
and
kind of
Stella.
dog. Not to other
God
damn it.
people.
Noc-
They just see me as
Is
a
it- am I cutting out again?
Discord's
Cares
doing
what
the
other
shit
people
again.
think.
Ugh.
Look what happens when I
Alright,
try to
final
Alright.
chapter
That's
begins with
strange.
Noctis and Stella.
I guess there's going
His
to be
gang-
some
yeah,
weird
his
lesson
gang
to
and
put a dog automata
Teneb-
and a Hava automata
Noctis
slot.
being
All right,
in
I'm gonna
shock.
pause for a second and let's go into the Discord phone call, disconnect and reconnect,
Okay.
because maybe that'll solve it.
Uh, hey.
All right, let's see here. Now I've got to reshare Cloudpunk with you.
Yep.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, are we back in?
Yep.
All right. Wait, hold on. Go ahead and talk.
Hello. You
Yep.
hear me?
Okay.
Am I
For a
still a
second
dog
there,
if
you
I
were for
don't
some
bark?
reason quieter.
Well, I'm your best friend.
Oh, that's
and
weird.
I think
Okay.
if you was a dog.
All right, but go on. I think we're okay
Aw.
now.
If I'm a dog,
All right.
am I not?
Blah, blah, blah.
Look,
Okay, so
Camus,
the gang
what do you
returns to
want to be?
Tenebrae. Noctis being in shock from the news he heard from Arden. Stella explains that she learned the truth about their families from Ravis, who learned it from Arden. Again,
Ah.
Ravis pretending to be Arden's lapdog.
I feel
Right.
like
So
a dog.
Ravis
I
believed
was
that
happier
Etro had to
when I
return
had
to
the
this
old
world to
body.
return light to
What's
the
a
3
dog with
expired
no bark?
crystals, and that
Stop
the only way to do
second-guessing
this
yourself.
was
You're
to
being
defeat
maudlin.
Noctis and the Lucius
Are you
Calum
still a
family
musician
and
if you
relieve
don't play
Etro of her
music?
shame.
Hey, now you're
Thus,
being mean.
Ravis worked with Arden to achieve this
I
goal
didn't mean
until
to.
he learned that
What's
Arden's
really
only
bothering
goal
you?
was to return to the realm of the
Didn't ask me
gods,
if I wanted to be
and that he
Ah.
was willing
or
to
a
destroy Eos to
Well,
achieve this.
Actually, you're right, Camus.
Meanwhile,
Do you
Stella,
want to
with
be
the help
either?
of Gentiana,
Hmm.
believes that there must be another
You
way
don't
to
even
return
need to be
Etro
my
to this
friend
world,
if you don't want
and that
to
as
be.
descendants
I
of
feel
Etro,
sad.
they should have the ability to
Look,
communicate
a lot
with
of stuff
Etro's
is
light.
fucked up in this
Huh.
world,
Noctis
Camus.
still angry
I
at his
won't make you
father.
be my friend
So
or
Noctis
force you
being
to
angry
stay
at
with
his
me.
father, who
You
he
can go
assumes
free.
knew the
I just
truth
want to
about
let
his
you know
family,
something first.
agrees with Stella
I
for
am
now, and they
listening.
decide to return to Lucius
I
to
like
speak with
you.
the
You're
crystal.
a good friend. As a dog,
So let's see.
car,
On the way to
fire hydrant,
Lucius,
vacuum
Noctis and
cleaner,
Stella
whatever.
acquire the 7
I like you
astrals,
too.
the summons,
I
in
want
order
to be
to
a
speak
dog
with the
and your
crystal.
friend.
Ifrit,
All
and they
right,
give
then.
some
Let's get back to work.
info about where
The
you
sooner we
find
make some
them.
more deliveries,
Ifrit,
the sooner I
Bahamut,
can save money
Fenrir,
to get you a
Shiva,
proper frame.
Leviathan,
Was the last
Titan, and
job
Ramua.
The
In
Andersons?
Lucius, Noctis and
I
his
don't know,
party
Camus.
infiltrate the palace, where they
I've been
encounter
thinking about automata and
Locka.
androids a lot.
This is an unbeatable
Sometimes it
boss
doesn't
fight, and you
seem
have to run
fair.
away.
Do you think it's
They have
fair?
some. I'm skipping
not
over a lot
really
of detail, by the
programmed.
way. There's like a ton
Sure.
of detail. Gladiolus found out that his father was the one responsible for killing King Regis.
Oh wow.
Oh, and leaves the
Fairness.
party due to doubts about whether he should be loyal to
I
Noctis
can
or his
see why they
father.
would make
Oh,
you that
wow.
Okay, this is
People are programmed
this
too,
is so
but
much
not
better.
like
Then
This
now,
could have
now that you
been
have a
like the
Kane
best fucking
situation.
Final Fantasy.
That's very wise, Camus.
Now they're throwing
I am
in
not
some
programmed to be
FF4 like
wise.
Kane shit,
Well,
basically.
you're
Yeah.
beyond
Like
your programming,
awesome.
Is that a
Noctis
compliment?
confronted Claris.
Maybe the
Claris
highest
is
compliment.
Then I think you have gone beyond
Gladiolus'
your
father, I
programming,
think.
too.
Oh, okay.
So Noctis confronted Claris, who tells him that his father, King Regis, was prepared to end his bloodline in order to end the curse of Etro, but that Claris was not prepared to let him do that, so worked with Nelfheim to take the throne from him.
Oh,
Claris
wow.
then swings at Noctis, but Gladiolus blocks the blow, killing him, causing Noctis to unleash. Oh, Gladiolus dies, causing
Whoa.
Noctis to unleash his raw emotion and killing Claris, fulfilling one of Arden's conditions. Ravis arrived and says that he must defeat Noctis, who now resembles a demon. You play as Ravis in this boss fight. After the
What?
first stage, the boss fight is unbeatable in the second stage, and Noctis defeats Ravis. Ravis told Stella, and let's see how far am I from the ending. Okay, I'm getting there.
No, keep
Ravis-
going. I'm. This is like the game that we never
This is
fucking
all-
got.
Yeah, this is more information than I remember. Ravis told Stella that the fate of Eos is now in Stella's hands. Noctis absorbs all the remaining energy from the Lucius crystal, causing the 4 crystals in the world to break, which causes many people to unleash their emotions and turn into demons.
Oh, jeez.
The area around the Lucius crystal turns into a gateway to the kingdom of the dead, drawing everyone in. In the kingdom of the dead, Stella and the party found Etro. Each of the party members, including Gladiolus, had to go through their own. Oh, Gladiolus is alive, I guess.
Oh, maybe
Each
he's
of the party
injured?
members. Oh, because he, or he's at the kingdom of the dead because he's dead. Maybe.
Oh, duh. That
Um,
makes sense.
I don't know though, but each of the party members, including Gladiolus, had to go through their own trial in the kingdom of the dead. Etro is sleeping, same pose as the logo,
Uh-huh.
and because of course it was Etro, we knew.
Yeah, instead of
this,
just
and
like
not fucking-
random
not
like spirit
Luna Freya.
sleeping.
Yeah.
Ah!
So Etro is sleeping, same pose as the logo, and Stella pleads with her to wake up. But Arden arrives and says that it is useless, as Etro no longer cares about Eos or its people. Arden then attempts to kill Etro to take revenge, but is instead absorbed into her. This
Oh.
causes Etro to wake up, who is horrified by what has happened to Eos, but is happy to finally be reunited with the Nox Fleuret, which is Stella.
Yeah.
Etro asks Stella to stay with her and leave Eos behind, but Stella refuses, causing the Arden part of the Arden-Etro hybrid to grow in prominence and absorb Stella too.
Whoa.
Thank you.
So, now, last paragraph. Now in control of Noctis, Noctis went through his own trial in the Kingdom of the Dead, involving his father and his mother, Alia Lucius Calum.
It
Childhood
was just a
Noct being-
non-entity in the game.
Yeah. You play as Childhood Noct in these portions.
That sure would explain a lot of the demos where Child Knocked was a huge thing.
It was an actual, yeah. After
And
seeing
like
how
all of
much
those
his father
previews
and-
they showed of like Regis hugging little Noct that were supposed to
Yeah.
be so heartwarming, and
this totally makes sense. Like, this leak has to be 100% real. There's no way. Like, it all
well,
makes
and
sense.
who would take the
you know?
time to write a better game and then just release it into the wind and make no money off of it? Yeah.
Exactly, right? After seeing how much his father and mother loved him, his hate for his family and his family's origin subsides, and he becomes less demonic. Noctis emerges from his trial to find the Arden Etro Stella hybrid.
Wait, what
Now
happened to your
reunited
arm?
with his party,
That
he
was a good
fights the
question.
hybrid,
How
first
do I
destroying the
tell the
Etro,
Dame when
sorry,
Raguan's goons gave
first
me the
destroying the
all
Arden
left
Etro
down?
Stella
We
hybrid,
had
then
to
an
get
Etro
moving.
Stella hybrid, and then finally a solo version of Stella, which is the final boss fight.
Oh wow.
Whoa, that's
No
fucked
kidding.
up.
I'm a nav point. That
After
would get us
freeing
out of
Stella,
danger.
Noctis
They
tells
ripped
her
your
that
arm
he will
off?
stay
You have to
behind
go
in
to
the kingdom
corpsec,
of the dead
Huxley.
with Etro,
Raguan
freeing
was
Eos
Rorschach,
from
Peter.
Etro's shame
They
once
were
and
all
for all,
tangled up
while
in some
Stella pleads with
complex
him
web
not to.
I couldn't untangle.
Noctis fuses
But
with
I knew
Etro,
one thing.
and then opens
If
up
I
a
tugged
gateway,
on the
pushing
wrong
Stella
thread,
and the rest of the party to
spiders
the
were
other
gonna
side.
come for their
What?
lunch.
The final
does that
game
mean?
/ chapter ends with
sorry I
both
said to
Lucius
pick him
and
up.
Nelfheim
He is
ending
still
their
very
monarchies,
Quiet
with
for now,
Lucius being
Cass.
headed by
Huxley, you
Ignis,
think corpsec is
Stella
involved in
leaving
Pashta's
Tenebrae in the
disappearance?
hands of
It
Gentiana
was
and
all
heading off on a
connected,
journey,
but I couldn't
and
see
Noctis
how.
sitting on the throne
Someone
of
was
Lucius
lying.
sleeping.
Raguan said I should
Whoa.
talk to Peter, but then his
That's
gorillas
so it
ripped
still
off
ends
my
with
arm
Noctis
and threw
basically
me out of
making a
sixth-floor
sacrifice.
window.
Yes.
But
So
this-
let's
A
call
way
Peter and
more
ask him
reasonable
what's really going on.
sacrifice.
Yeah,
Now the client
this-
wouldn't answer my
so,
calls.
Dude, the
I could
game that
feel
we
the
got,
dust slip through my
like,
fingers,
it feels
but
like
I
a
couldn't pull
fail.
her back.
Like,
especially
I'm
after
serious.
reading
like,
this.
I've always thought
That's
that
why
about
you called me, right?
FF15's
You want me to
ending.
take you
Like,
to Peter?
it really
I
feels
wanted
like
to tell
you
the dame
failed.
that she was right.
Because,
Yeah.
That it would
like,
be
Noctis
easy.
had
She
to
thought
kill
I was asking
himself
for a quick journey
to
across
stop
town,
Arden,
I was
but
asking her
Arden
for
had
much more. I
he
was
wasn't
asking
within
her
his
to
right
go
to
out
like
on a
turn the
limb for
world
me.
into
I
monsters,
was-
Huxley,
but
just
he
this one
was within
time,
his
please
right
skip
to
the
seek
point.
revenge on the gods for what he
Cloudpunk.
did.
That was the
And
name of the
what they
company
did
the
to
dame
him.
worked
And so
for. They had some serious
It
What
seems
you-
like you're the god's
vehicles,
playthings,
contacts,
Yeah.
and
society,
you
both
never
high
really
and
get to break
low,
out of that, and
an
it's like just
up-to-date
a
address list.
what do you call it? What do you call that? Not destiny, but it's unavoidable. Like this always had to happen, and
Everyone
Noctis
living
had
in
to
the
die,
village.
and that's
Yeah.
really sad.
and you're
so
like
I can see
playing
what you mean
into
by
it without
fail.
any way to, you know.
Huxley, that
To
could
move
get
from
me
it,
fired.
yeah.
And then like the
If we
like
are just
10-year gap
asking,
where Noctis
maybe
just
we
had to
won't
go
get
to
in
sleep
trouble.
for
Cass, you
reasons.
didn't want us to help
Again,
Huxley
like,
in the first place.
These
I've
are
been
interesting
thinking more about
ideas,
things,
but they are
about
in no way
Automata
fleshed
and
out
what we
enough
do.
to be justified in the final product.
We need to help
Whereas,
each other.
again,
Help
what
each
you
other
just
be better.
described as a
Like
trilogy
saving a little girl.
of games
Everything is so
makes
complicated in
so
the city.
much
You do
more
something and it is
sense
a bit good,
and,
but
like,
a bit bad too.
I'm
But
like
saving
more
the little
emotionally
girl
invested
is
in what
only
you
good.
read in 20
I can't
minutes
explain it.
than I was for the entirety
No,
of
it's fine.
So am I,
15,
dude.
which is
It's
just
nice
like,
to help people when
a
you can,
bummer.
Hey, you know
but I'm
what?
responsible
If
for both of us,
FF7
Cass.
got a remake,
If I
maybe
get
in 20
fired, I can't
years
even
we'll
keep you in
get
the hava.
like
Never
the
mind
real
find your
version
new
of
body.
FF15,
I
and I would
doubt
be
it.
down for
I
that. So
still
do
want to
I,
help find
but I would be
Pashta.
so down for that.
I almost
Like,
wish that they would make like
Quiet, both of you. I have to
FF17,
make a call.
you know, like
Control, this
with
is Driver
those
14. This
characters
is Rania. I
and
need to
that
ask for a
plot.
favor.
yeah,
and just like not
Dude,
even
I want the story
apologize
now.
for it. Like
I
FF17
need an
is just
address.
going to be what FF15 would have
was
been.
supposed to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll change the characters' names and that's it. Like,
They don't even have to do that. I wouldn't care. Like, you know, it wouldn't be the weirdest
This
thing that's
isn't
ever
really about
happened in
work.
video
I
game
need a
history. Still,
Personal favor. I
you're
just need
you're
you to
not
give me
wrong.
someone's address.
Okay, this is gonna piss you off. There's some miscellaneous stuff from this leak
Not really.
Yeah.
Look, I
about
know it's a
gameplay,
big
and the
ask.
gameplay sounds awesome.
oh great.
There was a maximum of 4 interchangeable party members, and additional party members could be unlocked for
Deleted?
non-story missions upon fulfilling certain conditions, such as Core, after meeting him in the second game, Ariana, after finishing her mercenary
girl is
group's
missing.
line of
The less
quests in
details
the
you know,
second
the
game,
better, right?
Iris,
I just
after
need this
finishing her
one
line of
favor,
quests in the
Control.
second game,
It's
and
important
Stella
to me.
is just playable in the third game.
want to hear any more about
So
Um,
kind of an FF6 kind of model where like you're going through the
Control,
world of
wait,
ruin and you
her
can
name
just
is
recruit
Pashta.
whoever.
She's alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Her-
granted,
also
in
seems
that
like-
game,
Taken from
everyone
her family.
always recruited everyone, but
Yeah.
I
Ravis,
could have
when you
been
play
that
as him,
little girl.
fought
That's
with
why
the
I have
Nox
to
Fleury
help.
armature,
Growing up,
similar
Dead
to
Corpse
Stella's
could have taken me
armature.
away from my mom.
Arden
Oh.
in his human
But every
form
time,
fought with a
she
gun hidden
somehow
in his
came up with
umbrella.
the money. It was
Um,
close. Don't
Let's
you get it?
see. Blah, blah,
Look,
blah.
Rania, this isn't
Driving.
a normal favor.
Elders,
What if it was your little girl?
Okay, driving
You
was
don't
not like
wanna
in the
go
final
there.
version, and
I
although
can't.
open world areas
Look,
existed
it's
around
one
the cities
address.
and major major
Don't say
areas, such as
anything,
Accordo,
don't tell
Tenebrae, and Niflheim,
Peter
they were
Unfrank.
much smaller,
That's
and
the
you
name. Just
you
hang up, then
teleported
send
from
us
one
the
to another
address.
after finishing an
I'll
area.
never ask for anything
So-
Oh
like
wow.
this again.
Okay.
That sounds like the open
Control
world
out.
was kind of
I am
added
nervous.
in, which
Yeah.
is like, yeah, they
Then
changed
it
the
sounds
direction
more
of
like
the game.
FF10,
I
but
wasn't
again,
sure he
FF10 proved that you can
We
do
got a
that
nav
successfully.
point.
So
Yeah.
The dame really
cares?
gets
Let's
through.
see.
Yeah.
So This makes sense because Solheim was supposed to be like this ancient city or something, but Solheim was not an area.
Big deal. Yeah.
You saw it in a lot of flashback cutscenes, but most of its residents were dead in the present era. Let's see.
Dude, like...
This person saying that this person wrote this a few months before episode Prompto was even released, so they already knew the details surrounding Prompto's origin and Versteel being his father, so it would be really unusual if this person just made this up. And
was just somehow right on the money.
Yeah. There were also other things noted that have physical evidence, such as Gentiana having Umbra and Pyrna being able to shapeshift into human form. There's an old storyboard photo drawn by Ferrari from Square Enix of Noctis talking to a human form of Umbra. Yeah. Oh my God, is there photos? What?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, continue to the external site. Take me there.
So they didn't just like storyboard this shit and scrap it. Oh God. Well. Did you just see that?
Yeah.
I think I fucked up, Max.
Nothing is screaming. It didn't say anything as far as like failing.
No. But I don't get the feeling I done good.
Why is she not saying anything?
Maybe she's in shock. Huh. Can I actually get over there? No, I think my objective is... Yeah, okay, I've got to get back in my car. Sorry, go on.
So let's see. I'm looking, I think these are Firefox stuff to social network from tracking. Okay, cool. These are like storyboards. Shit.
So like they spent all this time on this. Like, what confuses me is that they had what really sounds like an incredible, like ambitious story, and I understand, like, they spent 10 years developing it and got nowhere, and so now they needed to condense it down into one game. Why not just keep, though, the major beats of that story? And maybe, I don't know, just cut out some of the fluff. Something. I'm not a game developer, but, you know.
Or, like, if you're doing it like a movie, they don't really change anything of the core movie. They just shorten it. They find ways to, like you said, cut out the fluff, but maybe, like, shorten some stuff out without changing the story. The story was just so much more interesting. Like
objectively, not like, you know, oh, it always sounds good on paper, but it's hard to do. And no, this is like a better narrative than what we got.
Yeah. I did send you the link for basically
I see that on Discord there. Yeah.
Everything I read, but then at the bottom of that intro post are links to like the storyboard, the source, and the storyboard pictures are pretty nice. Like it's a lot of like Noctis and Stella.
If he's not really corpsec, I think we should run for it.
Oh,
yeah, that's
well. Okay, so
it is.
Go on.
Sad, you know. It's just like this. That's an interesting story. Like I would love to play that game.
Right. So the last episode
and again,
of
it's like Greek
Cloudpunk
mythology,
here,
basically.
Yeah, the last episode of Cloudpunk here. What got us off on this tangent was me saying that the fact that Square Enix has announced FF16 and then has committed to releasing it sometime within the next 2 years or so leads me to hope that they've really learned a hard lesson from 15 and are dedicated to, you know, releasing a full experience with a competent, at least, narrative. And that's what I'm hoping, because from like what we're seeing from the trailers, even like what little we can piece together, you know, Joshua is some kind of like pre-incarnate phoenix, and the main character either gets imprisoned or hurt and you know comes back later in life to save the day. You know, all of these are intriguing premises, and you know, we're not like hearing about it from like E3 demos. Like this is a trailer that's happening. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just different. Like, we're not having a rep from Square Enix say that here's what we're gonna do, and this is why we're delaying it, because we have these really ambitious ideas.
Either arrest us or
They
let
just
us
like
go.
presented the trailer, and they're not saying much about it because they want to build speculation, right? Like, we've got this already in place, and we know what it's gonna be, but we're giving you just enough now to whet your appetite, which is exactly what they used to do with, you know, E3 trailers of Final Fantasy games.
And not drag it out for 5 years or more, which ended up happening with FF7 Remake too. They announced that in, 2015?
Yes!
So 5 years.
That was the stupidest fucking thing. Why did they announce it and then say that we're restarting the development, making everyone panic because of, FF15? And then finally release it, but then...
Yes.
Lead you. That was dumb too. We've already talked about this, of course. Leading you on stringing you along for the first, 70% of that game.
He is not on comm.
And then just like
he says that CorpSec
crapping out on the ending.
I would like to think they've learned some hard lessons from 15 and 7, that they promise something when it's basically in its
I think it was just that one guy trying to
one
scare us
step
off.
past storyboarding stages.
Right.
Not even storyboarding, because storyboarding, it's like you have the whole plot down, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like they have some glorified trailers with that's not even an engine, So
the nice thing about 16 is that it's never been released before, right? It is an infant game. No one is emotionally invested in a set narrative. So like they can make the story as weird as they want it. They can have, shadow gods and defying fate and all of that stuff, because it would be an original story, right? Like I wouldn't be expecting it to end, like I wouldn't be like emotionally invested in it ending one way and then be bothered by it ending another way.
Yeah. Also, the trailers, they say it's in-game, which of course it could look different when the final version is released, but they at least have an engine going. They literally have someone who could be playing the game right now.
Right.
So it seems like, okay, that does seem like they could have this out within, 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
Like, that would be great.
Like, why the hell not? Because other games that are large in scale have... 2 to 3 year development times. That's not unheard of. I don't know why Square Enix alone, is the one company that cannot seem to move out like even moderately ambitious games in the span of a 3 year development time.
Yeah, Square is spending money on things that they don't. I mean, they obviously have it, but they're spending money like they're fucking Microsoft or something sometimes.
Right.
Like, we're going to build this engine. Oh, no, we're not. We're going to scrap it and just go with Unreal, actually. Here's a new game. We're going to just build another engine now. Like,
right.
It's crazy.
I kind of get the feeling that they don't know what to do with their own money.
Yeah. Like, when 15 first came out, right, on the PS4, like, it was a beautiful game.
Oh,
I mean, 7
game
obviously looks better.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is in their own engine that they developed for how many years? It's like, did you really have to do that?
No,
I mean, it looks
the
nice,
answer is
but
no.
Damn.
Like they're putting their resources in all the wrong
places.
Yeah.
And their resources they have, like they are definitely putting time into things. But in an engine, your own proprietary engine, okay, you're gonna make your own engine to use for a bunch of games, but you don't even do that.
No.
You use it for like one game,
and then you abandon it.
And then you're done with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like they could build on it for FF16, but they don't and won't. And I mean, like I don't necessarily care that much. Like if they want 16 to be a total fresh start, I'm down for that.
But I'm just worried it threatens the future of Final Fantasy in general. A series that I'm still emotionally invested in.
Me
something
too.
from my childhood.
But that's why I'm all in on 16, because if they can just commit to a direction, follow through on it, and then have it be even moderately successful, then that gives them the license to create future games in that same template, right? We can experiment, we can do something different, and have that be okay. And we don't need to take, 10 years reinventing everything that we do.
We've seen in the past that, kind of starting with 10, when they make sequels, they get a lot more experimental.
They do.
It's just like, fuck it, let's just spheres, let's see what happens. And they're, a lot of times, the story, this seems like to be the case with 10 and 13, is that the story takes a hit, but the gameplay, they get some really cool things out of it.
Yeah, I actually really liked the ATB sphere grid thing they did in 10 too.
Yeah, just from what I've seen, it's like, oh, this is actually really interesting.
It was, yeah. Like, 10-2 wasn't my favorite game by any stretch, but... Well, now why can I suddenly talk to him?
I'm going to have to ask you to be patient while I manually
it did some interesting things from a gameplay perspective.
And then I'll even put 12 Zodiac system in there, because that was a pretty big overhaul.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the Switch version and the PS4, what do you call that? There's the Zodiac job system, and then there's the Zodiac Age. And the Zodiac job system was pretty well balanced and a totally different thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretty different from FF12 proper.
And it really is. And I actually prefer the job system to the original FF12. And you know me, I love the original FF12.
Yeah. Now they say, and I love Zodiac Age. A lot of people kind of knock it for being too easy because of the two jobs, and they didn't properly make the game scale up the difficulty of the game enough, is what they say, which is like, okay, like, I didn't think it was an extremely easy game, but I didn't think it was super difficult
had its
either.
Moments.
Sure.
But you know what? I think also, I think that game was very much like, hey, don't come here yet, and we're going to show you why, and kill you immediately.
Yeah.
And that only happened to me once when I went to the Feymark, like, a lot earlier than I needed to. But, yeah, for the most part, like, I could go to places, and even if I was a little under-leveled, like, I'd be like, okay, I'll brute force my way a little bit.
Yeah.
But that game was just... There's so much inventiveness. You could express yourself a lot in that game. Get really creative.
And from a gameplay perspective, I think what we know the least of with FF16 so far is, what kind of game it's actually going to be. Is it going to be like an open world, maybe? Is it going to be really heavy on exploration or dungeon crawling? Clearly the combat system is more action-oriented, like 15. But
15, yeah.
But it seems to me... Like, the fact that the character dodges without, warping through the floor by accident, they seem to have, ground anchored it a little more like FF7 remake than they did FF15. So that looks good. But, we have no idea what to expect. I'm hoping, though, that they take some cues from FF12. Because that's sort of what the style of the game, from what we've seen, reminds me most of so far.
Me too.
That more mature, high fantasy look.
Yeah, the old world high fantasy with a little bit of technology maybe mixed in. Not the crazy stuff you see in 12 yet, but maybe it's there.
I was going to say, we don't know enough about the world either, because from what we've seen of the game, we know that they have swords and castles, right? But we don't know anything about, the airships or anything else, who the nation that the main character is working for is actively competing with. They just haven't shown enough to make that call. But you're right, it's entirely possible they could.
When the website showed up, 2 weeks ago, there's some new information. It's not super detailed.
I don't know about this at all.
FF16 website went live about 2 weeks ago.
Oh shit!
And so they talk about some things like the main character's name.
Oh, what is it?
I don't remember. Let's find out.
Look that shit up.
This is what I'm doing today.
I feel kind of bad for Cloudpunk because I've been following the story kind of in the background of our conversation. And it's a really good game, but
it seems like it's a very intriguing kind of story here.
It is. I'm gonna actually have to go back through it and watch our episodes and actually read what the hell is going on.
Just tell me where I can find her, okay?
I know we're trying to save a little girl.
The way his voice shook, we all knew he was lying.
Let's see, that's too old. Let me just try to find something within the last month.
No one cares about the girl.
Huxley does. Just let him do his job.
No, I don't mean FF14.
Wait, the CorpSec agent? He just threatened us.
I still can't believe that we're actually fucking getting FF16.
You're right.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I kept picturing it as like a much further down the road game.
Exactly. Like, I say this soon, but if this was any other company, this would be normal.
Yeah, this would be about right.
But for Final Fantasy, I'm like, whoa, you know.
Well, because 15 was meant to be this big, like, console generation spanning experience, and they just dropped it.
So, Icons, I think. Oh, Icons. Those are the name of the summons, but they're spelled E-I-K-O.
Because,
like
of course.
NS, yeah. So Icons. The world is called Valisthea.
Okay.
Mother crystals. Okay, so
Return to the crystals. So they're doing an FF9 kind of thing.
Okay, so a land blessed in the light of the Mother crystals.
Cool.
Final Fantasy XVI's adventure takes place in a land called Valisthea, which is studded with colossal mountains of glittering crystal called Mother crystals.
Sounds
Mother
intriguing.
crystals have towered over the realms around them for generations, blessing them with ether. This blessing of the Mother crystals has allowed these realms to thrive and their people to live in comfort. Countless wars have been fought over the Mother crystals all around the land,
Great.
leading to the
Give
rise
me
of
these
nations.
Details. I love this.
Nations such as the Grand Duchy of Rosaria, the Holy Empire of Sanbreque, the Kingdom of Waloed, the Dalmekian Republic, and the Iron
So these
Kingdom.
are places that we could potentially get to go to then.
Yes, I'm all
Fuck
for
yeah.
it.
Bring
Each
it
with their
on.
own culture and ideology. Ongoing skirmishes have forged an uneasy peace. Oh, they do. They have, that's right, they have the art. It's not the tactics artist. What is their name?
That doesn't sound good.
It's the person that does a lot of the key art for FF14.
Oh,
love
okay.
their art. I love their art. It is
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say
a
I
more
knew that the
refined.
style looked really familiar.
Yeah. So ongoing skirmishes have forged an uneasy peace between these nations, but with the emergence of the ruinous blight,
The ruinous
that
what?
fragile peace is starting blight, and they capitalize the B.
Okay.
That fragile piece is starting to deteriorate. So they're talking about this is like a subheader. 3 characters swept up by the winds of fate. So this is the director now. There's a lot of speculation, but yes, the young knight and the tattooed man in the Awakening trailer are one and the same.
Yes, okay.
His name, which was what we expected. Yeah, his name is Clive Rosefield.
All right.
So Clive.
I'm gonna
okay
get
with
really
Clive.
emotionally invested in Clive now. Very good.
Okay. His name is Clive Rosfield, and he's the main protagonist of this game.
An ambulance.
The firstborn son of the Archduke of Rosaria, Clive is a shield, capitalized S, who protects his younger brother Joshua, the dominant.
His brother.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
He protects his younger brother Joshua, the dominant of the Phoenix. Joshua bestowed the blessing of the Phoenix upon him, giving Clive the ability to wield a part of the Icon's fire.
Huh.
However, as the story unfolds, he is swept up into a great tragedy. Let's see.
Oh my gosh, dude. So I'm 10 times more excited about this than what you just read about, 15, because that didn't happen.
Because this is an actual game that we're hopefully going to get in a year or so.
And oh my gosh, like already what you have described is more world building than FF15 in the form that we got took.
Yeah, ever did in the whole game.
Holy shit.
Joshua Rosfield is Clive's younger brother and also the dominant of the Phoenix, icon of fire. Dominants are special beings who have the power of an icon residing in them.
Yep.
So it's like a
gathered that from the
Jinchuriki
trailer.
from fucking Naruto.
Yeah.
As a dominant, Joshua transforms into the Phoenix and fights to protect his nation. Even though he was born into royalty, Joshua treats everyone with kindness, but he does have his childlike side too, with a particular dislike for carrots. Okay. The two brothers find a confidant in Jill Warwick, who was raised alongside them. At an early age, Jill was taken from her homeland in the Northern Territories, a nation that swore loyalty to the Grand Duchy of Rosaria.
Dude.
To become a ward of the duchy. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, duchy.
Secure in peace between the two realms. She spends her childhood years with Clive and Joshua as a member of the Rosfield household.
So I'm guessing she's going to be like a party member, it sounds like?
It sounds like it, yeah. So maybe love interest, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, subheader, the icons and the dominants that threaten the world. So, for those familiar with the Final Fantasy series, you may know icons as summons.
Yep.
And they are without a doubt the most destructive and lethal creatures in Valisthea.
Okay.
Wielding powers that can level nations, icons reside within special beings called dominants. How dominants are treated depend on the realm. In some, they are revered as royalty, while in others, they are sent to the front lines as weapons of war.
Oh, wow.
We're almost done here. In the Awakening trailer, icons such as the Phoenix, Titan, Shiva, and Ifrit make an appearance.
Yep.
As for questions about how many other icons there are in Valisthea, who they are, and what will happen when they come to blows, well, you'll just have to wait for a future reveal to find out. I hope you get a chance to visit the newly launched Final Fantasy XVI teaser website, as you'll find plenty more information and artwork there. Our next big announcement will be in 2021. So please look forward to it, and please keep looking forward to Final Fantasy 16. All right, yeah, I am.
Oh yeah, dude! Like, what? I am sold. Like that, I'm gonna pre-order this shit. Like,
yeah,
for real?
I'm definitely liking.
Where was this?
This is giving me like FF9
decade.
Vibes a bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
they
build your
spent
world,
10 years, like without this kind of storytelling.
Like we already kind of know how this world works, how it runs, almost like what its currency is.
Yes.
You know, it's all about the mother crystals.
Yeah.
That's people's.
We know the major kingdoms. We know what the central conflict, at least the opening conflict.
The opening conflict.
Yeah.
What we're believing is going to be the big game until big game shows up.
Right. They're actually setting the stage, which they straight up didn't do for 15. Like, you didn't know what the stage was until Arden spelled it out for you.
Yeah, basically.
And I have to say, I've only spoken to 6 people so far, but I have liked almost all of them.
What's up, Cyborg?
I also spoke to Mr. Sharp.
Dude, like, that's all. Thank goodness. That's all I ever wanted from Square.
Have not yet been set. I was purchased by a
restaurant. Sounds like you.
I'm glad we're getting information, this much information, this quickly. I think that bodes well.
Because it shows that they have it well along.
Yes, they are way past storyboarding. They're willing to release all this key art, so it's like finalized. Obviously, they're not going to change a character on us. Stella's not going to become someone else.
Lunafreya, and like they're not going to axe the whole opening of the game, right?
Yeah,
because they've actually got it on an official publication, a website, right? Like 15 didn't have that until like the year
until
before,
they had the box art for the game, basically.
Yeah, like 6 months before it was released, at which point it had been up and down development row for 10 years. Like, that's just not a way to make a project.
But androids can't be owned anymore, not since the law changed.
Oh man, I am so glad that you read that. This really makes this evening's conversation kind of come full circle to me, because so where we started with this was the PS5, right? Like the PS4 was such a great generation. Final Fantasy aside, the PS4 was such a great generation. I hope the PS5 can kind of keep that momentum going. And if they give a good Final Fantasy, then mission fucking accomplished as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the launch lineup, I don't think it's a bad lineup. I know it's a lot of cross-generation stuff,
which isn't unusual.
But I gotta say, the cross-generate, like Miles Morales, I'm surprised how good the game already looks, you know? And again, in fidelity mode, performance mode looks awesome, but like, if you're like, okay, I want to see some stills from this game and just see how good it looks, it's like, wow, this does feel like next gen.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, The Last of Us at the end of the PS3 era or anything, but it's just like, how much better are games gonna look 1 or 2 years from now?
Yeah, I know. Like that's kind of the crazy thing. Like you and I, who have vivid memories of like the PS1 and N64 days. Like I don't know if we ever thought that we would see kind of like the level of graphical fidelity that we're seeing like in our lifetime. Like I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like the jump from N64 to PS2 was monumental, and the jump from like kind of PS2 to PS3 was still huge, but not like earth-shattering the same way. But now we're like playing with things like light reflecting off human eyeballs, and
I was thinking one of my memories of being like, oh, the crazy future, like we're gonna get there, is thinking like these cinematic scenes from like FF10.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, maybe if I'm lucky, we'll get there in my lifetime. And we've pretty much surpassed that.
Yeah.
Like you look at those
games.
obviously the PS2 graphics were like, okay, yeah. The cinematic scenes from like a game like FF10, which were amazing for the time, is just like, you know what? It looks a little too glossy. It looks a little like the light is not doing everything it should be doing. And now we can actually play things that
look like that. Yeah, isn't
much
that
better
nuts?
than that. It's like that is. So I can truly say I did not imagine we would get there.
We have
and
arrived
get
in
there
the future.
this quickly.
I'm just stuck here like
Yeah,
you.
this
this
is the future.
God willing, you and I still have maybe 40 to 50 years left in us. We don't know, but like
Yeah.
And we're talking about the jump of roughly from like when we were in college, when we started college, the PS2 was still the big system, right? The PS3 came out our sophomore year in college. And since then, from 2005 to 2020, we have seen like a complete overhaul of what is technically and visibly possible in video games. So like in another 15 years, when we're not even 50 yet, what are games going to look like?
Yeah, I wonder, there's obviously places to go. I think this generation, obviously the graphics have done, I think it's a really big, it's definitely like just the graphics by themselves justifies the generational leap.
Oh, sure.
Some people are like, oh, it's not that big of a leap. I feel like, no, it's not as big as PS2 to PS3.
So why is everything in the city getting worse then?
I would say it's at least as big, maybe bigger than PS3 to PS4, though. Like,
I think so, yeah.
That's just because of all the physics and stuff that are happening. That's the ray tracing and native 4K and running at 60 FPS. In most games, if you want it to be, that's awesome.
Like, on the one hand, I'm in the camp that, like, I still think PS4 games look pretty damn impressive. But at the same time, like, I do recognize that it has been out now since 2014, and 6 years for a console is a respectable, if not on the longer end, lifespan.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I recognize that it is time for a generational leap. And like you said, I'm just kind of curious if the games look this good, like out of the gate. I'm wondering what they'll be able to accomplish with them. And I think the reason that they look so good is that starting with the PS4 generation, they made the move to make them more like PCs. Like, they're not doing, like, their own processor, like with the PS3.
Yeah, like the PS3 or something.
Yeah, they're going for, like, established hardware manufacturers that really know what they're doing, and more importantly, that game developers know how to use.
I don't have any business
Yeah.
cards left.
So I think
which
the
is great.
PS5
But you
could
can still
produce
tell me your
some
name,
really
I guess
impressive...
so. The cards are
impressive
eggshell with a hollow
stuff
finish. The
in
font
a
is
year
an
or two
archaic
when,
neoclassic
the generational
choice
divide
font.
kind of closes and we're
They
not
have my
making
office number,
as
so
many
I never
cross-platform
forget where I work.
games.
Yeah.
Because
And
that was
we're
the big
not-
deal about The Witcher
Which
3, right? That
is-
came out in 2015, if you
right.
can believe that.
Quincy Sharp,
Yeah.
CEO.
But that was kind of the
CEO,
first game
wow.
that
For
was
which
really
one?
like tailor-made
Again, I'd have to check my
exclusively
card.
You don't know which
for
corp you
next
work for?
next-gen
We just
consoles,
went
right?
through a
It couldn't have been
rebranding.
done
I
on the
really couldn't say.
PS3.
You know,
Yeah.
So
I've always
I'm
wondered,
really
what does
I'm
CEO
waiting for the
stand
first
for?
game
No
on
one
the
remembers.
PS5
We
that
just
couldn't
use it
have
for
been
the
done on the
upper-level management
PS4.
corps.
Like, I
How do
wonder
you
what
get a
that'll
job
be,
as
and
a
how it'll
CEO?
look.
And how it's going to
Foresight,
look.
Yeah.
leadership,
I also think,
boldness, thinking
obviously
both
things are going to
inside
start
and outside
looking
the
better
box.
10 years from now,
Blue
20
sky
years from now.
thinking,
But I'm also wondering how,
originality.
we've seen VR
Those are the
kind of
characteristics that make you
not
a real
take
game
off
changer.
where, oh, this is definitely going to
money,
be the
right?
next thing,
No
Yeah.
one
but it's
works
actually
up to be a
succeeding
CEO
and it's
these
like its
days.
own
You
fork
need
of
limbs
video
in the
gaming.
first place.
I wonder
Yeah.
how
I always
much
see
of
money as a kind
VR,
of
how
energy
much of
force, and I've
AR
been able to
is
act
going to
as a
make its way
conduit
into
and channel that energy
mainstream
through positive
gaming
thinking.
Right.
My
in
father
the
also
coming
left me a
years.
small
You
trust
know,
fund.
is it going to be a lot of, hey,
Is anyone worried
8K,
about you back
16K
home?
is cool
My
for
father, for sure.
movies,
Although
but we're
we
playing
haven't
most of our
spoken since I
games with
faked
the
an alibi for my
screens an inch
brother-in-law
from our
after he
eyes
ran
now.
over
You know,
that
is that how
cop
it's going to
lady.
look?
Oh,
Right.
God, I
Who
should
knows?
go.
But also, you see that already, especially with the PlayStation 5, with hardware that has nothing to do with the silicon doing something different. The controller with its haptics,
Yeah.
again, haptic
Can I
feedback
talk
is
with you for
cool,
a minute, sir?
but
Mom,
also
yes, Mom.
combining that with
Sergeant
the
Carr, pleased to
like
meet you.
what do you
My
call
name is
that?
Rania.
The
How
varying
long have you
degrees
been
of
in
like
the
force
army?
with the triggers.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like something like Call of Duty all of a sudden is like one with the haptic feedback and different shakes, and not just like dual shock, but like very
Yeah,
nuanced
good one.
shakes of like,
Hey,
here's a
what do you know
pistol.
about this
Oh,
accident?
here's a rocket launcher, and that feels way different.
Yes.
Also, it's a lot harder to shoot with the triggers.
Yeah, like they
It's
can
like-
actually give
Do
you
you have any
resistance
friends or
with the
family looking
triggers.
for you?
Yeah.
Like that kind of immersion is like, whoa, okay, that's really cool. What are they going to do with
Are you
that
retired?
10
Oh yeah.
years from now? Like,
Yep.
that's awesome. So the immersion and things outside of just making the games look better is definitely going somewhere too.
Yeah.
I'm
And you know, I've
excited
said
for
it
it.
before and I'll say it again. It's a damn good time to be a
The
gamer.
Rat Wars?
Oh, yeah.
Were you really
Like when we
fighting?
were in
Yeah.
college, I really feel like that, like I said, that generation, I don't mean to like constantly talk trash about it, but I feel like it was a serious lull because like it was a stagnation of creativity during that time. Like they could, it seems like every
Was it
developer
really a war
could
if you
only
were
make
fighting
one
rats?
kind of
It
game,
sounds more like
and
you
it
were an
wasn't a kind of
exterminator.
game that I particularly cared for. You know,
and
and like you're right, the
And I don't suppose you
graphics
have much
saw an
savings as a
upgrade from the
veteran
PS2. But what I meant when I said it wasn't a huge leap forward, wasn't necessarily graphically. Like those games, like the shinier coat of paint aside, all felt like they didn't have any meaningful stride forward from the PS2. Not all. Again, I'm speaking in generalities here, but overall, like it was the brown shooter syndrome. Like you had every developer take their stab at making this one kind of game that defined the PS3 generation.
Yeah.
And it was never particularly exciting to me.
That whole generation,
Hi, my name's
obviously I
Rania.
look back
I'm
and
just
it was
chatting with
fun.
everyone
I had
to
fun with the
pass the
multiplayer games
time.
with my friends,
How are you doing?
rock band, things like that. And there's
See, I never got into those.
yeah.
But
So
I'm not
it's
saying
probably
you
even
have
worse.
no right to. I'm saying this just wasn't my jive.
Oh yeah. At the same time, I get what you're saying because I feel like I was missing out on something for all those years. For like 7
Do you work
years.
in a lab?
That with the SNES, you kind of had something for everyone, right? I could
Yeah.
play Contra and have fun with that, but then
Yep.
I could go play Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest
Definitely not.
and have fun with that too.
Oh, yeah.
Or a lot of other games with just a really good narrative. That Xbox 360 PS3 era kind of reminded me when I got an N64 before I got a PlayStation. Like there was a
Sure,
good year
I'll
and a
just go
half
get you
there,
some
2
help.
years, where I was like, hey, these N64 games are really great. I
Yeah.
wonder when they're going to come out with some good RPGs.
And then they didn't.
And then there's Quest 64, and then they just
Yeah,
for all the
Canvas,
great
you
games the
don't need
N64
to-
had.
Yeah.
No,
What is
it didn't have any good RPGs.
No,
and then
not a one.
and then the
But the-
PlayStation,
Yeah.
it was already
I can't
out,
decide who to
obviously, but
take.
then I got the
There was only
PlayStation
room
and
for
was like,
3.
oh,
Here's where all the
The-
good RPGs have
yeah,
To take passengers
combining
who could
these
cover the
together,
cost of
having the
rescue
really
for
great
Cloudpunk.
games of the
At
N64
least,
and
I
the
think
great
we do.
narrative games
Should I
of the
just take the people
PlayStation
and
Yeah.
Mike?
and other
I
games
don't
too,
know,
of
but
course.
you have
Yeah.
to
Now
choose
this
now.
feels like a
You
complete
should talk to the
generation.
people you
It
want
did,
to
Well,
it
save,
did.
then
And
Yeah.
and
get
so
out
that's
there
what it felt
quickly.
like with the
All right, I'll tell them.
PS3
I know who
360.
I'm
It's
going
kind
to
of like,
choose.
okay, but where are the other good games? And a lot of those were the indie games. Thank
Yeah,
God the
actually,
indie
you're
scene
right.
got much bigger.
That is one thing that I don't give enough credit to that generation for. It really pioneered the dawn of the indie game. Am I supposed to go fucking back here? Why did they do that? No, like, you're right. If it weren't for the PS3 and 360, the indie revolution never would have happened.
Yeah, I do give a lot of credit to Microsoft for it had very humble beginning, and I guess Steam too. Of course, I have to give credit to Steam. Very humble. This can't go beyond 50 megabyte beginnings,
Right.
but they had that Microsoft. What did they call it? Was it just the Microsoft Store? It was the Xbox Live Store, whatever it was. Made having indies, possible, and people actually got into it because, and I think Microsoft deserves a lot of credit for this. They said, okay, here's this really big platform. A lot of people have 360s, but if you want to have a game on our platform, you have to have a demo people could download for free.
Yeah.
And they've gotten away from that, but that really, I think, got people
That helped,
into
yeah,
these
for sure.
cheaper, smaller games, And then it just, by the end of the 360 era, they said fuck it to the 50 megabyte. I think Symphony of the Night was their first game that was like, okay, fuck it, we want Symphony of the Night on here.
Yeah, for real.
It could be 70 something megabytes, sure. And then by the end of it, there were games that were a couple gigabytes.
Yeah, it's like, who gives a fuck? Give us your games.
And then obviously the PS4 era, like indie games are just as
they're just
come
a
into their
part of the gaming zeitgeist, right? They're the same as AAA titles.
And we were just talking about this. There's something for everyone, right?
Yep.
Like you could have anything. You could have a platformer, on the Nintendo console that's $60, or you could have an indie game that's like a AAA narrative.
Yep.
It's all over the place.
It is,
and
it's great. It's fucking great.
Like 8 years ago, you never would have had an indie game nominated for Game of the Year. Now you see it.
Now you get
have
fucking
like a Celeste, or Disco Elysium, and Cloudpunk. Games like this that are getting awards. For best soundtrack or best game direction. That would only go to the AAAs. In the PS3 era. So. Yeah, the indie scene definitely had to evolve.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that it's coming to its own.
Because it gives AAA developers room to be creative too. In fact, it kind of necessitates creativity.
It pushes them
from AAA developers.
Right.
Because if they want to keep up to the par that indie developers are doing, it can't be all like the corporate. Our research says among white males this is going to be most successful. No, they're actively going to go out of their way to hire new creative people to do their games, which is cool.
And you're seeing that. Yeah. And it's just like, you better get pushed and do something creative, because if you want to charge $60 now, $70 for your AAA game, these indie developers most of the time are not going beyond $25, $30.
No.
So, and a lot of times they're like $10. So you better be creative.
In closing, this all brings me back to FF16, which is, dare we dream that it be good?
Hey, Max, it's always fun to dream.
That's right.
Smart, we'll see.
Next time on Play the Hits, the gaming revolution continues, and I don't know if we're gonna finish this game or if we're only like halfway through it, but we'll find out.
Shit. Yeah, I'm all here for it, man. We'll see you then.
We'll see you next time.